afternoon, folks. This is Bob from Bobby Broadcast Delhi for this short, light Saturday edition. The first piece of news is excellent possibility for India, Israel, UAE trilateral in West Asia, Israel envoy. Written by Dipanjan Roy Chowdhury. It says India presents a huge opportunity. UAE can bring in investments and Israel can bring in innovation and tech. It's so funny. Yesterday, expanding on an FP article, I had posted on Facebook this concept. And some days ago, also when this deal was going down, the peace deal between the recognition of between Bahrain, UAE, and Israel, I had suggested that this trilateral could be something that we should consider. But today it's out there. The Israeli envoy has put it out there. Now it's for India to grab it and run with the plot. Initially, India should have been part of that, but it wasn't. Well, nothing gained, nothing lost. Let's do it. It's never too late. Let's do it now. A very interesting article some days back, right? Kuwait joins Rolls-Royce cash talks. You know, this whole process of getting an FDI, there is the Gulf investment company, there is Singapore National Interest Company, but we've forgotten Kuwait. Kuwait is another country that sits on humongous amounts of money. It's a forgotten area. My uncle used to be the ambassador there at one time, and I think this is one country that really has good connections with India, but has just been forgotten within this larger global UAE and Saudi Arabia outreach to Saudi Arabia. Kuwait now is critical, especially since now the Emir has changed and maybe there's going to be a new canvas. India must jump in. It provides an opportunity for sure. Then you have another one by Subhajit Roy, signal to China in US officials India visit next week. Obviously, we are going ahead and messaging China, and it's important for India to call, spade a spade. It's about time we started naming it. And especially when Manoj Joshi writes something like this, what she should do, settle the border with India. With increasing US pressure, it is in China's interest. This is where we lose the plot generally. All our analysts, this is my opinion, of course. I'm nobody really. I'm not a master's in international relations or anything, but I get my gut feel, right, having lived in that region and spoken to some people and read a lot of books, is that this is where we lose them. It's in China's interest to beat the shit out of India so that they can forever, India takes another 15 years to get up to its guts and glory to take them on again. It may be focused totally on the South China Sea right now because of what the US is trying to do is recapture the Pacific and re-establish itself, an area that actually Obama lost, which was a shame in itself, right? So this for India, settling China, what they want, what she thinks is absolutely nobody really knows. My opinion is they want to beat the hell out of India, teach India a lesson. In that process, it feels that India will not be able to be a competitor in the Asian area. India is obviously fighting way above its weight, punching way above its weight. But right now, it has the tailwind. And when you have the tailwind, and if you have the will at the top, you can definitely give it a counter punch that China and Xi will not forget, and will forever put India in a position of creating a pole for all the other people on the fence between China and the United States. And here, very interestingly, the people who should be written off immediately is Lanka. As it says, Sri Lankan president draws country closer to China after summit. Says Hambantota port not a debt trap. In my view, as I said, the first thing we need to do with countries like Nepal and Sri Lanka is to tell them and reduce this in their mind. They think that they are of strategic importance to India. I don't think anything could be further from the truth. both these countries must be sent a red line. And let me tell you folks, there is a lot more economic dependence of both Nepal and Sri Lanka and India. They realize it and we know it. We now just have to be able to use it. Because what's happening now in our neighborhood is some name-changing ceremonies. We have Ding Dong Khan, we have Ping Ling General Bajwa, we have Sing Song Oli, now we have Fu Ling Gotabaya, and Bing Dong Rajpaksa. When you have a DNA of authoritarian dictators like both these brothers and the nephews and cousins and everybody else who seems to have taken it, I actually feel sorry for the people of Sri Lanka. Where is their pride? Are they going to be forever subjugated to the Chinese? I ask these Buddhists from Sri Lanka. Is this what they're about? Is this what their nation's all about? Out of servience to the British, into servience with China, just like Nepal and Pakistan. But welcome to that. For India, the key players in Sri Lanka are the Tamils, and we should never forget that. We should always know that the Lankans, the Sinhalese, never live up to their word. We've seen it, how Premadasa let our Prime Minister down at that time, and we should never ever forget that. And for our politicians and our bureaucrats who think we can change that, we probably cannot. It's in their slimy DNA. More after the break.
Driving force of the nation, now driving Max Plus Logistics. Unparalleled discipline, exceptional work ethic and diligence combined with mental and physical agility to meet any challenges. Moving forward on the right path in the face of physical stress and adversity. Max Plus Logistics. Wait till the end for some more information. May the Max Force be with you.
Welcome folks, I'm back with news from the United States, breaking news, and the breaking news is Trump's taxes show he engineered a sudden windfall in 2016 of $20 million from a co-owned casino in Vegas. $20 million in 2016. You know, all the stuff is now coming out slowly but surely. However, you know, in the United States, the people who are going to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump for sure. A little bit of news here as far as this goes. We had a news earlier on which said Nevada progressives, Biden or Trump, disappointed Sanders voters in the battleground state weigh options. Some will pick ex-VP, albeit reluctantly. And while that was happening, obviously Trump sensing a little bit of a gap. You saw another note saying Trump makes a play for battleground Nevada. However, in the last few weeks, through this entire charade of COVID and him getting COVID and the debate, you're suddenly seeing that, you know, earlier rightly had said key to vote US suburbs vary widely. And one of the states was Nevada. However, now the latest poll suggests that the lead that Biden has in Nevada is even greater than the one that Hillary had. So he's up by 6 points. So things are looking not so hunky-dory for Trump. And as we have the kind of chaos he's causing, there's this news that was shocking actually. Bid to kidnap Michigan governor. 13 people of the right-wing militia have been charged with making attempts to kidnap a governor. Folks, this is the United States. This is what happens when you start divisiveness and hate. And this is something we should also be very careful of, because our government also has this crazy penchant of divisive politics, and it can end up reverberating on ourselves, especially in our neighborhood. Right? Another note which made a lot of sense earlier, which is becoming true now, especially after he's been out of action. It said a defensive Trump is adrift in the news cycle, not steering. Earlier, Trump just because he wanted to jump up and down. That's why I guess the debate's being cancelled, and that's a huge blow to Trump, because what he really wanted to do was get on the stage and wow, and show the people of the United States that Joe Biden was not up to the task of being a president, and he still was Sleepy Joe. So he's now no longer controlling the news cycle. This news cycle is way ahead of him, right? It says President Trump is running out his own clock in his re-election campaign because there's nothing more that the news can get after. He's just way behind. There's another report which says, while we all say that Biden just doesn't have the necessary charisma, this Janan Ganesh writes in Financial Times, the welcome lack of enthusiasm for Biden. He writes, Delaware can reasonably claim to be the most innocuous state in the United States, but for the tax issues. He says, however, Mr. Biden is the corrective to an unhealthy trend in his party and country. Nothing commends him to national leadership as much as the mild feelings that he arouses. Whatever enthusiasm has achieved this past decade or so, it is not an America at peace with itself. So he is just a bomb, just what probably you need for reconciliation, for bipartisanship that he talks about, and for the world also maybe. Otherwise, I guess we're up for some serious conflicts. Then there's a question that the Trump campaign is trying to, suggest that Biden is not going to be as tough on China as he is. But here is what the article says: Biden's pledge on China looks a lot like Trump's. Then it basically says Biden's China plan shifts. He says the Washington consensus now sees China as an authoritarian rival, so that's not going to change. Going further than Trump, Democrats propose $350 billion effort to counter Beijing, that is to bring manufacturing back into the United States. They're actually making an effort and have put it out there as a plan. More on the elections next week. So far, what the important thing that to note for Trump is that his downslide has stopped, and that is in a sense good news. It's not worrying signals for the Democrats yet, but they better be careful and better watch out. Concluding a little bit with a preamble on Afghanistan, and I will conclude the strategic imperative for us tomorrow and what I think, in my opinion. Important note out today in the Hindustan Times: committed to Afghan peace talks, says Jaishankar. What it says is, however, Abdullah said at an event organized by a think tank on Thursday that a premature withdrawal of US troops from Afghanistan will have consequences, especially if the Taliban don't deliver on commitments to prevent the use of Afghan soil by groups such as Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. And this is really funny because there is another report in the US papers which says US military not informed about leaving Afghan. The US military was blindsided on Thursday by President Donald Trump's assertion that the soldiers will be out by Christmas. I don't think so though, because this is an election rhetoric by him. It's an election promise. He's got to say something. He's losing control of the media, of the news. But this is not going to happen, because even if he wins, also this thing will not happen. If he loses, then for sure it will be reconsidered, right? What is important to note is in this meeting with Ajit Doval, Jaishankar and Abdullah, the other person involved was the CDS. This is probably the first time a defense posture has been added to these meetings. And that may be interesting times. It may be an interesting message that we are trying to send to Pakistan and to China and to Afghanistan, that our support is fully there. Watch this space, because it's going to surely get interesting as India reestablishes itself on the high table in the Afghan process. Jai Hind.